Creamer Media's Mining Weekly is speaking to the members of ChromeSA, a forum of non-integrated chrome producers, which was established last year to engage with government on the issue of the imposition of a chrome ore export tax. Can you give us an update on the activities of ChromeSA?
It's nearly a year since we last spoke to you on this matter, and we felt that it's important that we address you again on the matter of the chrome export tax, especially as over the last 3 months or so, there has been considerable media attention on the matter, and a lot of it has been pro this tax being imposed, and we felt that it was important that the other side of the narrative was presented, whereby we can put forward our position regarding why this tax would not benefit the ferrochrome industry and would be very detrimental to our own. Support of one industry sector that is struggling by disadvantaging another doesn't seem to us to be very equitable, particularly if the job losses that would result from the imposition of such a tax would be greater than those potentially saved.
And what is the real issue here? What is causing these smelters to close or to idle? What are we supposed to do in South Africa to get them going again?
Well, the reason why the ferrochrome industry was initiated in this country was access to low-cost chrome ore and other raw materials, and also low-cost electricity. The situation with chrome ore hasn't really changed. The ferrochrome smelters have their own chrome ore mines, still access chrome ore at a reasonable price, or they can buy it in, significantly less than their competitors, the Chinese, buy it at. But the difference really is the electricity price. That has increased significantly, in fact, by over 500% since 2008. And that is the real reason why the South African ferrochrome industry is struggling, is that the cost of electricity, which is a major input cost in the production of ferrochrome, is so high.
And China doesn't seem to have complained about this pending export chrome tax. They seem to, well, one gets the feeling they're not opposing it as they have opposed it in other jurisdictions. So why are we getting excited about it? What will this chrome tax do if it is imposed?
Well, essentially the tax, if it's imposed, will increase the cost structure of the non-integrated chrome ore producers, such that some of them will actually no longer be profitable and go out of business or reduce production. And alternative sources of chrome ore will be found. If you increase the costs of a raw material into a production, for example, that the material going into China, if the Chinese are having to buy higher cost chrome ore from South Africa, they will look for alternative sources of supply. We admit that that will not be overnight. South Africa is a major supplier of chrome ore around the world, but business will look to alternatives and increase supply to fill that gap. So you have a situation where South African chrome ore mines will actually reduce employment.
And won't they then gain the employment on the ferrochrome side, where they will also have added value? We've had a history of a ferrochrome business here. It has been employing people who have been laid off, and if they protect it, won't those people start coming back now, given that the ferrochrome price is also up?
Well, yes, there will be partial effects like that, but if chrome ore prices from South Africa are going up, which will obviously increase the prices of ferrochrome going out of South Africa, which is what the ferrochrome industry wants, is higher prices. Alternative sources of chrome ore will be found, so less ferrochrome will be purchased. And also other ferrochrome producers around the world who are not reliant upon South African chrome ore will be selling their ferrochrome at a lower cost than the South Africans. So you might not see the effect that is envisaged.
What about the whole new energy situation? You're saying the real situation, the crisis is around the electricity price. These days, people are saying, we're going to generate this from the sun and the wind, we're going to do it ourselves. And one thing they do comment on is it's going to be lower cost.
If you look at the Chinese ferrochrome producers who are buying chrome ore from South Africa, they pay approximately twice per ton of chrome ore what the South African ferrochrome producers pay. So what is the difference? It's the cost of electricity and other raw materials. So if the South African ferrochrome producers can bring down their input costs, okay, by essentially bringing in electricity at a lower cost, then they will be more competitive in the market and they will sell more ferrochrome.
And what did the Genesis report say? What does the analysis point to?
From an economic perspective, the idea of export taxes, I think, from our side, in some situations can make great sense, but not in all situations. And what's interesting here is that export taxes are used, but they're fairly rare. And when they are used, it's most often, the idea is almost to secure for a local industry, so in this case, ferrochrome, a supply of a raw material to make sure that they have access to a raw material. They're worried about a scarce supply. In this case, it's actually not that. The logic behind this tax is not about that, because the ferrochrome sector themselves have their own mines and long-term offtake agreements with some of the other producers. So they've got more than enough supply themselves. And as Alistair said, that supply is at a very low price. So what's the logic of this? It's actually, the logic of this is effectively to try and hurt China, to raise China's ferrochrome production costs. And by dint of doing that, to improve the relative competitiveness of South African ferrochrome. And you can see that within that idea, there's a number of strains to that logic, which we've had a look at, which we raised as being uncertain. And effectively, that what this does become is a kind of very much a high risk gamble. And there's a simplistic narrative behind this export tax, which effectively says it's not going to hurt anyone. Chrome producers, we're the biggest supplier into China at the moment. All that's going to happen is they're going to be able to raise their price to China. And then that's going to then feed through into the competitiveness of Chinese ferrochrome, and local ferrochrome producers are going to benefit from this. What our analysis suggests is actually it's simplistic. Even though we are the biggest supplier into China, biggest exporter into China, we're not the only one. What this tax will do is really push us up the cost curve as a country. And we estimate in our analysis that there's probably somewhere between 22 to 32% of our export volumes, which could be vulnerable to be replaced by other countries along the way.
That was Creamer Media's Mining Weekly, speaking to representatives of ChromeSA, a forum of non-integrated chrome producers, which was established last year to engage with government on the issue of the imposition of a chrome ore export tax.